Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
Since opening our doors in 1904, Builtwell Bank has existed to be the local economic engine for the communities we serve. No matter if you're buying a car, saving for retirement, or finally buying that forever home, Builtwell Bank is here to help. From personal checking and savings accounts to a full suite of business and commercial banking with treasury management services, we'll make sure you'll have a dedicated Builtwell banker that understands your unique needs and stands by you every step of the way. No matter where you are in Tennessee or Northwest Georgia, there's likely a Builtwell Bank location nearby. Come see us and let our dedicated financial team help you with all of your banking needs. Member FDIC.
For the best meal from south of the border, head to Cocina Real in Puente Grande for lunch and dinner. With a wide array of mouth-watering entrees, there's something for everyone on the menu. And you can't forget the cheese dip. They'll treat you like family, and you'll never leave hungry. Make Cocina Real Mexican Restaurant and Puente Grande Mexican Restaurant your choice for authentic cuisine, located in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome into this Wednesday edition of the SEC Tailgate. Michael Marks alongside Hayden Burks. And Hayden, we got a busy Wednesday today. We're going to be talking a lot of basketball, but we'll get it started real quick up with just some of the headlines going on around the SEC. Most of these are Tennessee-centered just because that's really all that. There's not a whole lot going on right now, but we're starting to see a little smack talk between Syracuse and Tennessee ahead of their August 30th matchup in Atlanta. Syracuse redshirt freshman Fatim Diggs, when asked about the Tennessee game, said, "When that game comes, we'll show people how we really get down." Diggs had 2 tackles last season.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk about that point of view, but I mean, I'm not going to go into the smack talk type of thing now. If it comes to Tennessee and Vanderbilt, I'm going to have a totally different statement. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think too, really, down to earth teams that both passionate fan bases, passionate players as well on their teams. So it's going to be fun seeing that matchup for Week 1 between Tennessee and Syracuse. Syracuse, they lost a lot offensively. Tennessee trying to find a new identity with a new quarterback taking the snaps. What's the defense going to look like? Lost a lot of parts from that area. What's the wide receivers going to look like? What's Deshaun Bishop and other guys like that? And on the offensive side, like I said, you got Chris Brazzell. So a lot of questions are going to be answered through Week 1 just throughout this. So I like the smack talk, and obviously it shows that both sides have confidence in where they're at as a program right now. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think you're going to see 2 very excited teams take the field on August 30th. Obviously, Tennessee coming off of a college football playoff appearance. Syracuse had a 9-win season, so they're both going to be very excited to take the field and try to kind of build on what they did last season. Former Tennessee wide receiver and 4th-round draft pick Dante Thornton Jr. has been named to a starter for the Las Vegas Raiders ahead of their first preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks. That game is tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on the NFL Network. We got a new Netflix show, SEC Football Any Given Saturday, released yesterday on Netflix, giving you behind-the-scenes access into an SEC locker room and practices throughout the 2024 college football season. It's 7 episodes in this season, all around 45 minutes, except the last one's a little shorter, but it's about 5.5 hours of content, so I only watched the first episode last night, but from what I've seen, it's a great show.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, and I'm glad you reminded me, too, because it gives me something to watch. while I'm at the house whenever I go home after this and before we do our live show night. So, yeah, like I said, I like how it gives an in-depth look of how, the SEC and how college football, and, when you're a college football athlete, it's a job. We all say student athlete comes first, and I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case because you should be a student athlete, but when it comes to college, sometimes it's athlete over student, and especially with this this era of college football and NIL and all that stuff. So, I like what they're doing, putting that content out there, especially kind of like how WWE is with their unreal behind the scenes stuff. So, I'm going to enjoy watching it and kind of seeing the ins and outs of how a program is ran.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Obviously, got that MA rating on it, so definitely not the most family friendly show, but you're gonna learn how blunt, and how blunt some SEC coaches are. Some news out of Gainesville as Gators are having some injury problems. Obviously, we know about DJ Lagway trying to work his way back, and now true freshman wide receiver Dallas Wilson is out with a leg injury. Not sure how long he's going to be out, but another big injury for Florida. Again, they're one of those teams trying to work on what they built, at the end of last year, and injuries are really one big thing that can kind of derail that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at kind of Florida, obviously, coming into last season, there was a lot of question marks with Billy Napier, him on the hot seat, how long will he be there for, and then they just had a complete 180 with Graham Mertz going down against Tennessee, and then Lagway having some signs late in the season, beating LSU, and I think they beat somebody, Ole Miss?
Yes.
Yeah, they beat
Ole Miss. LSU.
And LSU, at LSU. Or was it at Florida?
It was at Florida.
It was at Florida, yeah. Okay.
But still a big win.
Yeah, big win, obviously. Made it to a bowl game. I think they finished 8-5 on the season. So a lot to look forward to, but, the injury bugs kind of struck there in Gainesville. So we'll just have to see how they're able to respond through it.
Yeah, Boo Carter back fully practicing with the team now Tuesday morning. So meaning he missed about a week and a half of training camp with the team. Do you think this punishment or whatever he had to work through, do you think it was enough, not enough, or too much?
I don't think it's over. Like I said, I've seen what he's been having to do, and brutal, but not enough to get him where he's not going to be able to play. But he's got to earn the trust back from his coaches, his team. Seems like that's going in the right direction right now. But we'll just have to see. Like I said, I'm not sure the entire details with it, so. It really just comes up to the players and coaching staff. Obviously, the fan base is, as passionate as the fan base Tennessee is, and us as well. You want to see somebody being that orange and white. You want to see somebody run across that checkerboard. So then again, I think Boo Carter is a phenomenal talent. Obviously, it sounds like he knows what he did was wrong, and he's working on the relationship again with the coaches and players. So, like I said, hopefully it's off to the right direction. We can have him ready to go, and he's going to be a big part of this team as well. So.
Yeah, and see, this type of thing is making me remember early last summer. We had seen that Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon had gotten a DUI leading up to the season, and his coach Mike Gundy spoke on it at Big 12 Media Days and said, if you want me to punish him, I'm not going to suspend him. I'll just give him the ball 50 times a game. Just throw him out there and kind of let because run the ball 50 times. That's much more punishment than any running would do. But obviously, it's good to have Carter back, fully practicing with the team. Hopefully, missing that week isn't something that's going to necessarily hurt his progression and his growth as a football player on and off the field. Today, we got the full SEC men's basketball conference schedule. We have dates now for most games. Some of the midweek games still have a Tuesday, Thursday kind of question mark with them. But obviously, we got that, and we'll be going into a lot more basketball coming up next. But something exciting, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell hinted at the potential launch of a college football-themed Red Zone product on ESPN. We've seen on NFL Red Zone where they have all the games up and they'll hop in on one when a big play happens. I think that would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of excitement when it comes to overall fans and how ESPN, what they've done the past 2 days with NFL, with that partnership, and then WWE as well. So, I like, what ESPN is doing. When AJ answered my questions there that I had, my excitement's a whole lot better because I don't have to pay more for that. But then again, I like the idea. Obviously, don't change it up how, it was good before. Don't, put your touch on it. Just let it go. And let's see what happens with it. Like I said, I'm all for ideas, but don't change something that's not broken.
Yeah. Roger Goodell said earlier on SportsCenter, obviously in the context of that, though, ESPN purchased the Red Zone name, and they will be able to utilize that for other sports, college football, and other things. I think that could be an exciting thing for our fans, also to see Red Zone maybe in a college football or other sports. That's something that they now own, and will have the ability to do that. But as far as Red Zone, NFL Red Zone, there won't be any changes for our plans. So maybe a college football Red Zone. Obviously, It's something that I think fans will love. I think NFL Red Zone has been a huge thing over the past couple of years that, if your team's not playing, why not watch all the games?
Yeah.
All right, so coming up next, we're going to start looking at some SEC basketball teams. We're going through every team. We're going to talk about who they lost, who's coming back, and a couple of their non-conference games coming up next here on the SEC Tailgate.
Here at Fields and Brown Barbershop, legacy means a lot. We're trying to fill big shoes left by my two uncles and my grandfather, where every haircut came with conversation and every customer left a little taller than when they walked in. The barbershop is about pride. It's about knowing your barber knows your name and your story. Come see us at Fields and Brown Barbershop, where tradition never goes out of style. 3 generations, 1 legacy, your barbershop.
Welcome to the newly remodeled Brass Lantern. For over 30 years, we've been serving delicious food to excellent people. Brass Lantern takes pride in authenticity, serving fresh, homemade food to please any member of the family. From mouth-watering to one-of-a-kind steaks served with gourmet marinade, to salad with our signature honey mustard dressing, specialty fruit tea, drafts, and much more. Our food is always prepared daily. Whether you come in with friends or family, you'll appreciate that fresh is better.
Here at Fields and Brown Barbershop, legacy means a lot. We're trying to fill big shoes left by my two uncles and my grandfather, where every haircut came with conversation and every customer left a little taller than when they walked in. The barbershop is about pride. It's about knowing your barber knows your name and your story. Come see us at Fields and Brown Barbershop, where tradition never goes out of style. 3 generations, 1 legacy, your barbershop.
Hi, I'm Jeff Overton, pastor of Mars Hill Baptist Church. It's that time of year again where the hallways of the schools come alive with life. We love hearing the children go back, their laughter, their squeals, the excitement. And we want you to know at Mars Hill Baptist Church, we're praying for you as you start back to school. Whether you're in the kindergarten and starting your very first day, or whether this is your senior year, it's the last time you're going to walk the halls of that high school. We want you to know we're praying for you and we're supporting you. We're praying you have a great, productive year, a safe year, and when you come to the end of this school year, you look back and say, what a great year it's been. I also like to encourage you. We have a great children and student ministries at Mars Hill Baptist Church, and we'd love to come alongside you and help you grow in that area of your life as well. So as you begin this school year, begin knowing we're behind you, we support you, and we love you. God bless you. Have a great school year.
The storm doesn't ask. It takes. It tests. It pushes everything to its limit. Some things are built different. Some things are built to last. Tested by the elements. Proven by time. Engineered for whatever comes next. Summertown Metals. Strength in every storm. Building dreams that last.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
All right, welcome back here to the SEC Tailgate. Michael Marks alongside Hayden Burks. And Hayden, I was in the mood to talk some basketball, so I've been doing a little research. I've gone through all 16 SEC teams look at some of the guys that are out the door, look at some new guys coming in, who's coming back. As today we actually got the obviously the SEC men's basketball schedule. We got some games and when they are, where they are at, obviously. And just looking at the first couple of weekends, I mean, you got Tennessee, Arkansas that first weekend, Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida. I mean, you got a ton of good games. Tennessee and Kentucky is one of the first few weekends. Florida, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Oklahoma. So we got a ton of good games coming up in conference this year. But let's take a look at who's even on these teams. I mean, with the transfer portal and 5th and 6th years, you don't know who's going to be on your team. So we'll take a look. We'll head down to Tuscaloosa and look at Alabama first. Obviously, a lot of pieces gone from last year's team. Mark Sears, 19 points a game, out the door. Grant Nelson, 12 points a game. He's gone. Clifford Amori out the door, as well as Chris Youngblood. So that's a lot of senior leadership, a lot of production you're losing. But they're bringing in a ton of guys. They got Jalil Bethea, a guard from Miami, who's 7 points a game. Taylor Bowen out of Florida State, who's going to be really good. And then a big wild card, Noah Williamson out of Bucknell. He was an 18-point per game, 10-rebound kind of guy. If he could fit in and kind of be that Grant Nelson piece for Alabama this year, they could be really good. And then obviously you got LeBaron Philon and Aiden Holloway back. So Alabama losing a lot from last year, but it's not such an insurmountable loss that you're going to throw this year out the door, because obviously you have Aiden Holloway who can be that point guard for you, and a ton of guys that can bring you a lot of different scoring opportunities.
Absolutely.
Now on to Arkansas. They lost a lot as well. Adu Thero was drafted. John L. Davis is gone. Boogie Fland went to Florida. Jonas Adu graduated. Zvonimir Avicic went to Illinois. So that's a lot of your playing time from last year. But as we know with John Calipari and how he likes to do things, he's going to hit the portal hard and he's going to recruit hard. Got Malik Ewan out of Florida State. That's a 15-point per game guy. Got Nick Pringle from South Carolina. Darius Acuff, one of the top recruits in the country, was averaged 24 points per game for IMG Academy. Malik Thomas is a 27-point per game guy out of Overtime Elite. You get Carter Knox back from that team. You get DJ Wagner back from last year. So a couple of big pieces coming back. Billy Richmond, obviously. Arkansas is definitely going to be a tough opponent this year. Auburn, they lost a bunch of guys from last year. No Janai Broom, no Chad Baker Mazzara. He transferred to USC. Miles Kelly's gone. Denver Jones is gone. Chaney Johnson's gone. Dylan Cardwell's gone. That's your top 6 guys from last year. 6 of your top 7. They got Tahad Pettiford back, the freshman guard. It did some recruiting. Got the 5-star Sebastian William Adams out of Texas. And Caden Magwood, another guy in Overtime Elite. Elijah Freeman, which is a huge guy out of the portal, played at LMU up in East Tennessee, was averaging 19 points per game. Keyshawn Hall, and almost a 20-point per game guy out of UCF, and then Keyshawn Murphy, a big man out of Mississippi State. So
there's going to be a drop-off there. Yeah,
definitely a bit of a drop-off, but man, it just seems like the rich keep getting richer. Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, all looking like they'll be tremendous this year. Now on to the defending national champions. You lost Walter Clayton, you lost Elijah Martin, you lost Will Richard, and you lost Denzel Aberdeen to Kentucky. So that's a lot of pieces you've lost. That's 4 of your main guards from last year. Let's see what they brought in. Well, Alex Condon's back, obviously. Ruben Chinyalu's back, and Thomas Halleck's back. That's 3 of your 2 of your 5 starters from a year ago, and then Halleck was your 6th man. Well, they brought in A.J. Brown, a guard from Ohio, averaging 13 points a game. Obviously got Boogie Fland from Arkansas, probably going to be a first-round pick this next year. And then Xavier Lee, the guard from Princeton. And, we remember Princeton making getting that big win against Arizona a couple years ago in the NCAA tournament. And then out of high school, they went and got C.J. Ingram out of IMG Academy. So, a very talented team. Probably going to take a step back. The Clayton and Martin and Richard have been with each other for a while now. That was a very good thing they had going. It's going to be hard to, kind of replicate that production, and especially with you being the defending national champions, you're going to have a target on your head.
Exactly. I don't think there'll be too much for regression, but there will be a regression there in Florida.
We'll head down to Athens and look at the Dogs. They lost Dakota LaFew from last year. Silas Demery transferred to UConn. Asa Newell was a first-round pick. Tyron Lawrence graduated. And then Deshane Montgomery went to Dayton, averaging 7 points a game. So what have they done to kind of replicate what they had last year? Obviously, a very up and down year for Georgia, but made the tournament as a 9 seed. Didn't go as well as they would have hoped, but they're going to try to rebuild for this year. They're bringing back their point guard, Blue Kane, was a 10-point per game guy. Got Jordan Ross transfer from St. Mary's. Kanan Ketching's another guy, averaging about 8 to 10 points a game at BYU. Jeremiah Wilkinson, a 15-point per game guy at Cal, and then Jake Wilkins, guy out of high school in the state of Georgia. Love to see guys bring in their in-state kids, so hopefully he can have a good career for the Dogs. And a big one here, Kentucky. They lost a ton from this year. Kobe Brea, gone. Amari Williams, gone. Andrew Carr, gone. Jackson Robinson, gone. Lamont Butler, gone. Ansley Almanor, gone. That's a ton of their production from last year. But I'll tell you, Mark Pope, killing it recruiting. Got Otega Owe back. That's a good pickup. Denzel Aberdeen from Florida. That's a very good guard right there to kind of replace what you lost with Jackson Robinson and Lamont Butler. Jaden Quaintance from Arizona State. That's a 5-star big man out of the transfer portal who's going to be a big piece this year. Jalon Lowe out of Pitt is a 17-point per game guy. Mo Diabate from Alabama, 8 points per game. Jasper Johnson, a guy they got out of Overtime Elite. So a ton of good talent coming in for Kentucky. We'll see if they mesh well together. Obviously, a bunch of the guys they brought in last year were transfers, but it seems like Mark Pope is kind of doing that one guy out, one guy in type of thing. And maybe, but I'm not sure if that's a class that I would spend. What did they say? They're spending like the $10 million on it or whatever.
45%, I think is what
so
you said.
It was like $9 million.
Yeah.
LSU, they lost a lot. VJ Miller obviously transferred to Oklahoma State. Jordan Sears graduated. G. Bailey is gone. Cameron Carter's gone. And then Damian Collins as well. So that's losing a lot of production, but they hit the portal pretty hard. You got back Jalen Reed, who's an 11-point per game guy. DeDon Thomas Jr. out of UNLV is a 16-point per game guy. Rashad King, a 20-point per game guy out of Northeastern. Markel Sutton, almost 20 points per game out of Omaha. And then a big-time recruit in Jalen Reese, 22 points per game in high school. So a big pickup right there. Obviously, a bunch of smaller school guys, but, LSU had a tough year last year, finishing 15th in the SEC. But they got some guys that can put the ball in the basket.
They just got to take baby steps. I think they're okay. They still will be in probably the bottom of the pack, but I think they'll be
a little scarier this year. Just the fact that all these guys can score.
Yeah,
from all three levels. So a big pickup right there for Matt McMahon and his team. Mississippi State definitely going to be a little interesting this year. You lost Riley Kugel, the UCF transfer. Claudel Harris is gone. Keyshawn Murphy transferred to Auburn, and Cameron Matthews graduated. RJ Melendez graduated, and that's a lot of your production. But a big get back was Josh Hubbard. Yep. There was a lot of talk of him going to the NBA draft. Went through that draft process, but while retaining his eligibility, and then I think he was a last day withdrawal from the draft. And obviously Hubbard's a small guy; he's like 5'10", 5'11", but he's putting up almost 20 points per game. I think he's got a good chance to probably lead the conference in scoring this year. He'll be really good. They got Jaden Epps and Quincy Ballard around him as some guards, and then Jabari McGee from UAB, and then T. Bartlett, a big man out of OTE. So, Mississippi State is not your traditional SEC team. They're not going to go out there and try to outscore you. They're going to try to keep you from scoring. Yeah. They're a very defensive team. So, while these guys' scoring numbers aren't great, a lot of these guys are those big defensive kind of help guys.
They're long, tall, big.
Yeah, Bartlett's a big guy. So, Mississippi State, I assume they'll probably take a bit of a step back from this past year.
Offensively, but defense should stay
the
same.
The defense will be good, and we'll go over some conference schedules at a later date. Missouri, though, they're an interesting team this year because they came out of nowhere last year. You lost your two leading scorers in Tamar Bates and Caleb Grill. Also lost Tony Perkins, but you're getting Anthony Robinson, the guard, back. You're getting Mark Mitchell back. You got Trent Pierce back. You pick up a big man, Sean Phillips, out of Arizona State. You get another very talented guard, Sebastian Mack, a 10-point per game guy out of UCLA. And then Javon Porter, a 13-point per game guy at Loyola Marymount. So you're picking up kind of where you left off. Every piece that's gone has somewhat of a replacement that I named here. So Missouri, will they be very good again? We've seen Dennis Gates. He's kind of an every other year kind of coach where his first year was good, second year was not very good, and then his past year was another good year. So history tells you that this year might not be very good for Missouri, but who knows? Oklahoma, another team replacing a lot of talent from last year. Jeremiah Fears obviously was a top 5 pick, I believe. I believe he ended up being number 5 or 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah, I think he fell to 6 because New Orleans picked. No, he went to 7.
Yeah, he went to 7. Yeah. Yep. They got Jalen Moore. He's gone. That's 16 points per game. Duke Miles is 10 points per game. He's going to Vanderbilt. Kobe Elvis is gone, and as well as Bryson Goodine. But they've done a pretty good job in the portal. Porter Moser, their head coach, has talked about how much he hates losing guys in the portal, and he's done it the past couple of years. He just lost a ton of guys in the portal, but he's brought a ton in this year. Obviously, Darion Reed, 6 point per game guy at Alabama last year, but a youngster, so definitely a lot of room to grow there. For some experience, you got Nigel Pack. He'll be a 5th-year guy out of Miami. You got Xavier Brown, almost 20 points per game for St. John's last year. Tay Davis, a 15-point per game guy at Notre Dame. And then Kai Rogers out of OTE, played for the Cold Hearts. So you brought a lot of scoring back in, a lot of length back in, obviously with Reed and Davis and Rogers. So could be a very, very good team for Oklahoma. But again, you lost Jeremiah Fears, and he wasn't able to get you really too far. I mean, you made the NCAA tournament. But they got some tough games coming up this year, so we'll see what Oklahoma's made of pretty early on.
Yeah.
Again, they were one of those teams that made it all the way to conference play undefeated. Ole Miss, they lost a ton this year from this past team too. Sean Padula, Jalen Brakefield, Jalen Murray, Dre Davis, and Matthew Morrell. That is 5 10-point per game scorers right there. But they did a really good job in the portal with head coach Chris Beard, brought in Malik Dia, bringing back Malik Dia from last year, was one of your better scorers, better rebounders, and then a lot of guys that have a lot of potential. You bring in guys like AJ Storr from Kansas last year. Was not very good for Kansas last year, but was very good. Has shown that he can be a very good, number 1 scorer. Just did not have a good year last year at Kansas. Brought in James Scott from Louisville, another guy that has the potential to be a big scoring opportunity for you. Just hasn't been able to show that yet. And then some pretty big pickups too. 4 stars Keza Gifa, 15-point per game guy out of high school, and then Nico Bundalo, another highly ranked guy out of Florida. So another good year probably loading up for Ole Miss.
Ole Miss it's really a question mark there. We look at how they were last year. A really good team.
Yeah, made the Sweet 16.
Made the Sweet 16. So. Like you said, obviously there's a lot of production they have, but then again, I think they're going to be a young team. They're going to have some hiccups, obviously, as a young team as well. So, really, that's the biggest question mark team for me in the SEC.
Yeah, and they are, and I'll mention another team later down the road that I think is one of those that could end up being, probably 13th, 14th in the SEC, or could shoot up as high as 5.
Yeah.
South Carolina was not very good last year, and they lost everything again. Colin Murray Boyles gone to the NBA draft. Jamari Thomas, a 13-point per game guy, graduated. Nick Pringle transferred to Arkansas. Zachary Davis transferred to Memphis, and Jacoby Wright graduated. All you're bringing back is Mike Sheriff-Johnson from Utah, was a 7-point per game guy. Michi Johnson's back again. And if you haven't heard this guy's story of college, man, it is something else. So he's at Ohio State for a year, and he transferred to South Carolina. And then after the season, he transferred right back to Ohio State. And what's he done? He's come right back to South Carolina this year. So you're kind of playing around there with just where he likes to go to school. Elijah Strong brought him in from Boston College, a 10-point per game guy, but it's looking a bit bleak in South Carolina.
I'll see them at the bottom again this year.
Yeah, Lamont Paris, a lot of work to do there. Only brought back like 3 or 4 guys from last year's teams, and none of them were really big production guys, so asking a lot at him this year. Moving on to the Big Orange, they lost a ton this year too. No Zakai Ziegler, no Chaz Lanier. Jordan Gainey's gone, Igor Milicic is gone, Jemai Meshack, as well as Darlin Stone DeBar. But they bring a bunch of pieces back in. We got Felix Okpara coming back, Cade Phillips coming back, JP Estrella, who we didn't get to see last year because of a foot injury. He'll be back, so that's kind of locked up your big men spots. You got Jacoby Gillespie from Maryland, an excellent three-point shooter, a great point guard. Amari Abram, a good scorer at Louisiana Tech. Jalen Carey out of Vanderbilt. You're looking at him to kind of be that enforcer piece inside. And then Nate Ament, obviously, a 5-star recruit, consensus top 5 pick, for these preseason NBA drafts. And he's the big question mark. He's what a lot of Tennessee's success is going to lie on, obviously, this year. There's a ton of good young pieces on this team. If Nate Ament is what we think we can get out of him, which is a Cooper Flag type of guy, a big lanky guy that can stretch the floor, man, Tennessee could make it back to the Elite Eight. But if he's somebody like a Julian Phillips who came in with all this hype and didn't really do much, it could be a rough year.
Yep, we sure can.
Moving on to Texas, you lost Trey Johnson to the NBA draft. Arthur Kaluma, that was another big piece. Him and Caden Shedrick graduated. You got some pieces coming back. You got Jordan Pope back, one of your guards. You got Tremont Mark back, a very good scorer. Simeon Wilcher, transfer in from St. John's, an 8-point per game guy. Dalen Swain, 12 points per game out of Xavier. And then a transfer out of FAU. Texas, it's going to be a different look, obviously. Rodney Terry out the door, Sean Miller in. But they're one of those teams that's got a question mark heading into the year because you don't know what you're getting out of them.
They don't have any offensive production, obviously. Yeah. So, like I said, they're probably the second biggest question mark behind Ole Miss, in my opinion. So, not really sure. I think it's going to be another just Texas year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then Texas A&M up next. They're the team that's the biggest question mark for me this year. Obviously, you lose your two leading scorers from last year in Wade Taylor IV, Zurich Phelps. Pharrell Payne transferred to Maryland with his coach. Henry Coleman's gone. Anderson Garcia's gone. So they have one guy on this roster that was on this team last year, and he didn't play much. So we're getting a completely new look from Texas A&M. Rasheem Agee out of USC, 10 points per game. They got Pop Isaacs from Creighton, who was a 17-point per game. Marcus Hill out of NC State, who's very productive. Mackenzie Mbako from Indiana, who was a 12-point per game. And then the biggest question mark for them, Jakari Lane, 17-point per game guy to UNA. Was a very, very good shooter last year. If he can replicate that at Texas A&M, I think the sky's the limit for them. He could be another Wade Taylor kind of guy that can just put up 20 shots a game and hit a bunch of threes, hit a bunch of big shots. But also, if his production is really far down from where he was at North Alabama, it could be a long year for Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, Jakari Lane is obviously in my opinion, the biggest question mark and maybe could be the biggest pickup for them. We saw what he did right down the road south of us at UNA. And really good player, man. I mean, he can just score a lot of levels for his height, too. Really good shooter as well. So, like to see what he can bring to Texas A&M. And, like I said, probably the biggest question mark is him. But then again, I think he can definitely, like you said, it's going to be a struggle just because it's, going from the Sun Belt to the SEC. But then again, sky's the limit, like you said.
Yeah, definitely a big move right there. And then last but not least, Vanderbilt. They lost a lot of pieces from last year's team as well. Jason Edwards was your leading scorer. He transferred to Providence. You lost A.J. Hogarth. He graduated. Jalen Carey transferred to Tennessee. M.J. Collins transferred to Utah State. And Chris Magnon's gone. But you get Tyler Tanner back. He one of the best. He was I believe he was number one recruit in the state of Tennessee last year. He was a 6-point per game guy this year, but I think he can almost double or maybe even triple that this year. Tyler Nickel, an excellent 3-point shooter. You get him back. Devin McLaughlin, one of your kind of enforcers inside. You get him back. And then the transfers. George Kimball III, a 20-point per game guy at Eastern Kentucky. Again, that's a guy where if he can replicate his scoring total in the SEC, Vanderbilt could be very dangerous. Duke Miles from Oklahoma. He's a 10-point per game guy. Frankie Collins is another 10, 12-point per game guy out of TCU. And then Mike James, 13-point per game out of NC State. So, we see that Vanderbilt, we obviously saw last year, they like to run a kind of a smaller lineup, a 5 out, a lot of guards, and all of these guys right here that I've just named are either a guard or a big man that can stretch the floor. So it seems like Mark Byington's got the guys he wants, and it's definitely going to be an interesting year for Vanderbilt coming up here in November when the season rolls around.
See, they're building a culture, so I like where Vanderbilt is. They made the tournament. I think they were
9 seed.
A 9 seed, yeah, something
and
like that.
I think they very well could make it back again this year.
Yeah, obviously, I think they can cause some trouble as they did last year, and I think they can do the same this year.
All right, coming up next, we are going to go through all the teams and some of their biggest non-conference games coming up this season. That'll be next on the SEC Tailgate.
Arctic Air keeps your home or business comfortable. For more than 20 years, we provided outstanding residential and commercial services through Southern Middle Tennessee. Whether you need assistance with your heat, air conditioning, preventive maintenance, or anything in between, trust our reliable team to get the job done. We'll take the time to figure out your specific needs and recommend what we believe is right and best for your situation.
We've been using Arctic Air for over 15 years now. Their service is great, they're here when we need them, and their prices are competitive. They take the worry out of the heat and air so I don't have to.
Arctic Air, when you need us, we'll be there.
Good Works at Home, formerly known as The Summit at Home, is a licensed non-skilled agency dedicated to helping you maintain your independence at home for as long as possible. Our compassionate and caring staff provide support in various areas, including dressing, bathing, personal hygiene, transportation, cleaning, and companionship. Please call our office about services, payment options, and long-term care policies at 931-762-2310. We look forward to assisting you with keeping your independence longer.
Since 1955, Evers Construction has been the company folks have trusted for residential and commercial construction projects. Today, Evers is still the leader in building and is just as committed to maintaining. From residential to commercial and industrial, Evers' team of experts stands ready to install, service, and repair all your HVAC and plumbing needs. Specializing in leak repair, maintenance, air duct cleaning and repair, air handler service, drain cleaning, gas line work, emergency unit repair, inspections, and more. Evers Construction offers a preventative maintenance package to keep your home or business cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Trained, trusted, reliable. For more information or to schedule an appointment with the pros who know, phone 931-762-3593 or visit eversconstructionco.com. Evers Construction Company in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
There's no job too big or too small for Gonzalez Lawn and Landscapes. Owner Chris Gonzalez works hard to make your commercial or residential properties one of the neighbors will envy. You won't find a lower price anywhere else, and that's a guarantee. We offer mowing, landscape removal, small construction jobs, and more. Our team is licensed and insured to ensure the best work for Lawrence County and surrounding areas. Your satisfaction is our goal. We won't leave until you're happy. Call today to set up a free quote.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
All right, and welcome back to the final segment here of the SEC Tailgate on a warmer Wednesday afternoon. We're starting
Still
to heat.
feels good.
Yeah, starting to heat back up, but still at a comfortable temperature right now. And we're going to go through and look at some of the biggest non-conference games for each of these teams in the SEC. Obviously, some of these schedules aren't fully complete yet, so there may be some more games that jump up here later on. But as of now, we'll start Alabama November 8th, so early in the season, about a weekend. They take on St. John's at Madison Square Garden, so that's going to be a big matchup. Obviously, it's going to be Nate Oates versus Rick Pitino. Two Italians. Yep. It's going to be a good one. Arkansas, they will take on Duke, and Chicago at the United Center on Thanksgiving Day. You remember CBS does their little CBS Sports Thanksgiving Classic, I believe is what it's called. You got a couple of games, but one of them, Arkansas and Duke. That one should also be a great game. Obviously, John Shire and John Calipari, two of the best recruiters in the sport. Calipari, one of the better older coaches as he's getting up there in age, and Shire, one of the better younger coaches. So we're kind of seeing maybe a torch passing kind of thing here at that kind of top dog and coaching Another game I'm very hyped up for. Auburn, November 16th, will be in Birmingham to take on Houston. There's a couple of teams, St. John's, Duke, UConn, and Houston, who have seemed to make their entire non-conference schedule just SEC teams.
Give me Houston on that one. I like Houston.
Yeah. Florida's got a couple of tough ones. December 2nd, they traveled to Durham to take on the Duke Blue Devils in the ACC SEC Challenge.
I like that.
And that could be a very good game. And then the next Tuesday, they play in the Jimmy V Classic in Madison Square Garden against UConn.
I can't wait for that one. That's got
and again, that's a rematch from the round of 32. That was an excellent game. If anybody was going to stop Florida from winning a national championship, it was UConn. That was the closest to doing so. And again, if they win, maybe we're looking at 3-time national champion UConn. Georgia, again, another team that schedule is not complete, but they will be playing in a classic out in Charleston from November 21st to the 23rd, where they will face Clemson, West Virginia, or Xavier. Clemson and West Virginia obviously could be very good this year. Xavier with a new coach, not exactly sure though. Yeah. Kentucky, their schedule's brutal. I've put 3 games up here. November 11th, they start off at Louisville. Louisville could be a very, very good team this year, and obviously in a big rivalry. December 5th, Gonzaga in Bridgestone Arena on a Sunday. Yeah. That could be a great game. And then 2 weeks later, they take on St. John's at the Toyota Center in Atlanta. So
that's tough.
That's a tough non-conference schedule. They also got a Michigan State game thrown in there. They've got UNC thrown in there. So Kentucky, man, people can give them a lot of crap about a lot of things, but Mark Pope is scheduling. They're scheduling tough. So you're going to know what Kentucky's made out of. Yeah. When they head into conference play with 4 losses, don't judge them off that. LSU, again, their only non-conference game that is public as of now is their SEC Challenge game at Boston College. That's a long trip. That's going to be a big game for them if they could win that, help the conference out. Mississippi State, November 10th. This is an interesting one. Mississippi State is playing Iowa State November 10th in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay.
Not sure why. Not sure if there's a tournament or a classic going on up there. But interesting location to say the least. But that could be a very good game. That's going to be 2 very good defenses. T.J. Otzelberger and Chris Chris Jans, 2 great coaches. Yeah. So you're going to be seeing a very defensive game there. Missouri and Kansas are playing in the border battle in the State Farm Center in Kansas City.
I like that one.
On December 7th. That one will be pretty early on in the season. And again, we saw Missouri upset number 1 ranked Kansas last year. It looked like a big win at the time. Kansas ended up not being that good. But again, these 2 teams hate each other, so there's going to be no love lost there. Oklahoma's got an interesting trip as they travel out to Spokane to take on Gonzaga November 16th. I love to see Gonzaga playing an SEC team just because they're out there out west. They try to play some of the bigger teams, but just they're so far away from really the east side of the United States is where all of the basketball talent is. You got teams like Purdue's, the Dukes, the Carolinas, the Kentuckys, the Floridas, and the UConns, and they're all on the sort of the East Coast, so to speak. And then you got Gonzaga, all the way out there on their own, and obviously UCLA and USC haven't been too great as of late. Really, the only other team out there that's been good over the past couple of years is Oregon.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, December 21st, they take on NC State at Greensboro. I believe that's going to be Will Wade's first game against an SEC opponent, as he's remember LSU got in the recruiting trouble for stuff that's all legal now. Went to McNeese State for a couple of years, got them to the tournament, got them a tournament win, and now has moved on to NC State. So they're a team that you should watch out for this year, big time. South Carolina, another team that doesn't have their non-conference schedule complete, but they will be hosting Clemson at some point this season. That'll be a big game. Obviously South Carolina was not a very good team last year, but they beat Clemson at Clemson. So that was one of Clemson's few losses that they suffered last season, so that could be a big one. Probably the game I'm personally most excited for, Tennessee, will be in Vegas November 25th, taking on Houston.
Yeah,
they'll have a chance to avenge their loss in the Elite Eight last year, but it'll also be a very good telling point where this Tennessee team is early in the season. I think Houston's probably the favorite to win it all again.
I think so.
They got all their guys back that they wanted back, and they brought in a ton of good recruits and transfers, so they're going to be excellent again, but I think that'll be a very good game. Texas, December 12th, will make a trip up to UConn.
That could be a sleeper.
That could be a sleeper. Obviously, Texas is a team that could be your dark horse. that game December 12th could answer a lot of questions heading into conference play a couple weeks later. Also in December 2nd, Texas A&M was again another one of those teams that doesn't have a full conference schedule out, as well as Vanderbilt coming up next. But Texas A&M December 2nd will be at Pitt for the ACC SEC Challenge. Pitt was a pretty good team last year. Jeff Capel always will have a good team. So we'll see what both of these teams are made of early in the season. And then last but not least, Vanderbilt, December 17th, will be taking on Memphis at Memphis in the
That'll be a good one too.
Over there in the FedEx Forum. So
that'll be fun.
We get to see two of the two in-state teams, doing war, and we always see Tennessee and Vanderbilt as a big rivalry, Tennessee and Memphis, but Vanderbilt and Memphis isn't one that gets played a whole lot. So I think it's exciting to for us to joke about who's coming in second in the state of Tennessee this year.
Right.
Well, that will do it for our Wednesday show. We'll be back Friday, and we'll have an exciting game coming up on Friday where me and Hayden will go back and forth and drafting the best SEC team of the last decade. So for Michael Marks and Hayden Burks, has been the SEC Tailgate. Have a good day, everybody.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.